Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to do is talk about making a watch with a movement by one of the top world watchmakers. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this is that more and more collectors are beginning to realize that the value in a watch is not necessarily the resale value or the brand value, but rather the essence of it is within the movement. And a lot of collectors will say, "Oh man, boy, would I like to have one of those, one by Kerry Boot and Lannon, or one of them with a movement by Agenor, or in this case, the guy we're going to look at is Jean-Francois Mojon." Now, some of the watches that he's created, we talked about not too long ago for Cyrus. Some of these things, I think, are approaching $200,000. So we're going to try to find something that's a little more something that collectors could afford. That's what I found in a company that Jean-Francois Mojon started, is called Chronode. And Chronode is makes movements, and there's more than this. But I thought, well, let's take a look and see if we can get a movement and create a watch for under $2,000. Now, most of the expense is going to be on the movement. So, take for example, you get 10 watch collectors together, and everybody kicks in $1,275. Now, this is going to be for a guy who makes watches in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay? All right, so you get these 10 pieces. And if you look at this, just to give you an idea of some of the little details of it, look how the rotor is sort of wraps around the plate, all right? And then dropping down below the plate, it can add extra weight. There's a certain amount of weight that has to go into a rotor. Now, one way to do it is simply make the rotor fatter, and when you do it, you make the watch thicker. But instead, Mojon and the watchmakers at Chronode decided, well, let's make it thinner by having parts of it drop below the edge of the plate. So, just little things like that. Now, this doesn't have tremendous finish. It's got decent finish, but it's not the kind of thing that you'll see where you have a lot of onglaze and so forth. All right, so let's get started on this. Now, the first thing we want to take a look at is what's called the technical sheet. And the technical sheet gives you the kind of things that you have to consider. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is that it comes in two versions that you can get. You can either get it with center seconds, or you can get it with what are called eccentric seconds or sub-seconds at 9 o'clock. On the bottom down there, you can see a little drawing of the center seconds, one with the small seconds. And then, of course, the rotor is in the back, so you don't have to worry about that right now. At 3 o'clock, there's a little window for the date. So, you got a lot going for this, for this movement. It's not just a time-only movement, but it's time-only with an automatic. And so it's, pretty nice movement. Okay, the dimensions, the total diameter is 31 millimeters. The casing diameter is 30.40 millimeters, and the total thickness is 4.1 millimeters. That's going to be important. We're going to look at that in a bit. It's the power reserve is 60 hours. It's 4 hertz, bidirectional automatic winding. This would be the referring to the rotor, and then the balance wheel inertia is 8 milligrams with 2 centimeters. Okay, now looking at it a little closer, what we're seeing here is on the left. You see what you look at when you look down at the dial on it, and here's this one right here. You just sort of look down on the dial. You take the dial off, and this is what you'll see. This particular watch, by the way, too, in order to make a watch, to build one on your own, there are lots of really good videos on how to do it. This is one I made, and it's it's pretty straightforward one. It's a 6497, and notice how the case and the movement just really go together well, and that's because with a lot of the popular movements, like the 6897 and the 98, there are companies that will make cases that are off the shelf. Say, give me a case for this or that, and you can get it. Same thing with a dial. Say, oh, I want a dial for 6497 or 6498, and you can get it. Okay, so we look at that, and there are a couple things. The width is 31 millimeters, which is pretty standard. This is on the dial side. And you can see two little little holes for the dial feet. And this is when you have on your dials, I don't know if you can see it here or not, but they have these little appendages sticking out. This you got to be careful with this one. Here's one I had, and I broke one of the feet. That can happen, believe me. And anyway, so what you do is you stick the feet into the holes that on the Chronode 102. Okay. All right. And then on the back there's a rotor and a balance. That's actually for putting everything together. That's not that important right now. The stem is, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, now, so you have this, all right, so you got about a little over $1,200. You got this really good movement. And not your tip-top finishing, but your price for something by a top watchmaker is really great. All right, so now you want to get a case for it. And what I did, a while back, I got a case by Ickler, and I really liked it. They're a very high-quality case. Ickler is a German company. And so I thought, well, I'll take a look at the one for the ETA 2892. This is the way you buy, typically people buy cases. Let me have one for an ETA X, Y, or Z, or Seiko, or whatever they're buying a case for. They have cases for just about all the models of Seikos you can find. The same thing with ETA. They're very popular, and so they can, just get them off the shelf, so to speak. Now, what I did, I wrote Ickler, and I heard back from him, and I asked him, I said, well, I got this Chronode C102. Do you guys happen to have a case for it? And they said, no, we don't. We have and they said what you might do, given the dimensions, because I sent them the dimensions, they suggested a 6498. Now, the reason for that is that when we look at the Chronode, total diameter is 31, so well it can easily fit in a case made for one with 36, and the height of the Chronode is 4.15 millimeters, and the ETA is set up for 4.5. So you have on the other hand, if you look at the height and the width of the 2892, and the reason I like that is that you can get a smaller case for it. The one that I have here is for 39 millimeters, and this is where it becomes a little tricky. And like I said, if you have some experience working with different kinds of watches in terms of making them, or you belong to my group, the Pretentious Watchmakers, we try to put stuff together. Okay, so that's one thing, and the case is $228.05. Now you might say, wait a minute, I've seen them on AliExpress. I can get one for $25. That's true, but this is a good case. And I thought, well, you get a good watch, you might as well get the best case you can find, and so that was why I'm suggesting this one. There are other good ones, but these I knew about, and so I could recommend them one way or the other. Now, the other thing is getting a dial. here is a dial I have, and you can see on this side right here. Now this is 3 o'clock for your date window. On the Chronode C102, it's also at 3 o'clock. So anyway, it's the kind of thing that you have. Some of them are in different places. Sometimes you have the date at 6, sometimes at 4:30, all different kinds of places. This particular one, now this is particular in a lot of ways. This was one I got that I've been having fits, trying to get a good fit for my Soprade 10. And the other ones I got that came with the case that I got for it was way too small. I mean, it just didn't look right. And so I got this one. It looks right. Now I got to work out the rest of it. Same is going to be true with the Chronode, because if you're going to try to find off the shelf different kinds of dials for it. Now, the one at the top is a dial that was taken from an old watch, and I thought, boy, that's sort of an interesting looking dial with center seconds and the window. This is something else too. Some of you, if need be, can make your own window. You just cut a hole in it for your date. Or another option is that if you don't care about the date, you can just leave it solid. I had a watch, one of the early watches I did. I wanted it just to hour and minute, so I snipped off the second pinion on it. Okay, and then what I did here is that I took each one of these dials and I superimposed it on top of the view that we have for the front, and noted where everything went, where the window went. The window goes over this date disc or date wheel that comes around. Okay, so we got this. I don't know what, for the hands. That's another thing. You have the hands. You have different types of hands. The ones at the top are all on the center cannon pinion. The ones at the bottom, the hour and the minute hand, are on the canyon pinion. And then you have another second pinion for the second hand over at 9 o'clock. So that would be another thing to consider. Now, I put all of this together. The movement is 1275. And again, this is if you have 10 people together and you all go in together and get it. The case is the good case. You can get a lot cheaper cases, but, why? You want to have a nice case. And then the dials and the hands are about $100. Some of the some companies that make it, Anordain, I don't know if they make them separately now, but they make these very nice dials, enamel dials, but they have their own watches now that they have. So I don't know if someone else can go in there and say, hey, I'd like to get an enamel dial and get exactly what you want. So you might want to look around and see if you can find a dial maker who can make it for that's not too much. Now this total comes to $1,603, which is well under $2,000. But and we didn't really get chintzy on anything. You can buy dial on hands for a heck of a lot cheaper than $100. But this is sort of way to approach it. You look at this thing. Here you see, a watch by Philippe Dufour. Those things I think they're pushing up toward $1 million, if not, that's just crazy. But he was, Jean-Francois Mojon was in the same group and the same statue. Really an amazing watchmaker. I didn't mention it. This is the P4 in my Urban Jurgensen was made by Mojon. So, you're going to another total different level. So, why go super cheap on the hands and the dials and so forth? Okay, now the final thing I want to bring up is I got an email this morning, as a matter of fact, from Jean-Francois Mojon, and he said, well, because I'd asked him, I said, do you happen to have, I was hoping he had off the shelf cases for it. He said, no, we don't, but we work with this company called Develop Your Watch. And they've worked with Chronode. And if you take a look, I think it's Develop Your Watch info, or just developyourwatch.ch. Go to their website. They have a lot more information about it. But I talked to another guy who's from there. He said, they're pretty expensive. And so what I was hoping is that, well, you can go there and they can give you something that'll be, so the whole total will come under $2,000. He said, no, for everything you need to make a special dial and special hands and so forth, it could, get pretty high. The point is, though, you can find out. All you got to do is make an inquiry, tell them what you want. If you got 10, watch collectors together, each of you with a movement, maybe it'd be worth it for you. Another one that was recommended is called Ickler. Boris Project, he recommended, he knows both of these. And one thing about Ickler may be less expensive. But still, they have very high quality material. So this is another way you can go. You can go to either one of these and say, okay, this is the movement I got. Develop Your Watch has worked with Chronode before, so they know it. Ickler, I don't know if they have or not, but they came highly recommended. So that's another route you can go and get a watch by a top-rated watchmaker for a lot less. Okay. Right now, some of you are aware that I've been working on a project. It's been a long time. I guess we actually started in June, and just now we're going into production. But this is nowhere near under 2,000. We're trying to keep it under 10,000 now, and it's something that is this experience in working with Swiss watchmakers. It just has been incredibly educating, and I thought, well, maybe there's a way that you can, if you want, you can get something from one of the top people. Perhaps not everything you want, though. Anyway, let me know what you think, and this is an invitation to subscribe if you like. Until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.